We've gone over our purpose, and we've done our welcome. We'll show you the PSCP board members. We have a couple announcements, and then we'll get into our webinar for Cassie Sadazan, who's joining us today to talk about coaching through change. We'll have a quick question and answer session, and then closing remarks. All right, here's our PSCP board. For those of you guys that don't know, my name is Jamie Joy. I'm the newest member of the board as the production lead. So I'm taking that one on today and introducing our speaker. But here's our contact information if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out. And for our announcements, we have a PSCP board opening. We are looking for a director of operations and learning development. So if anybody is interested, just some brief highlights about what this position does. They oversee and support the production lead as well as the technology and analytics lead. Facilitates after action reviews after each webinar, ensures resources and content are up to date, and just leading training and development procedures, questions, and assistance. So if anybody is interested, just send us an email to info@pscpractitioners.org and just answering a few questions. Why you're interested in joining the board, why you feel like you're suited for the position, and your favorite thing about change management. We obviously love change since we're a change community practice. All right. We are also collaborating with the 2024 Colorado Innovation Conference. So here's our call out for speakers. We are excited to collaborate with them, and we're looking to host our PSCP webinar during the Colorado Innovation Conference. So if anybody is interested, feel free to email me. Or there's also other topics. If you're interested in presenting on something outside of change management, there's several different topics that they have. You can scan that QR code, which will take you directly to the form to register to be a speaker, and then they will reach out to you and let you know. So we're excited about that. So again, email me if you have any questions, or you can also scan the QR code directly to fill out that form. All right, the bottom line, the more we engage and collaborate and encourage each other, the more that we will accomplish. We really want to help people be successful with change. So please feel free to join us. We're also looking for more speakers for the next year too. So if our August timeframe for that 2024 Innovations Challenge, that's that timeframe, but we're also always looking for other speakers. So we want to hear from you. So present, share, ask questions. Another exciting thing is that we're on to our next book for our PSCP book club. So we're very excited about that. We just finished our last one and moving on to the next one. So Talking Change, Must-Have Conversations for Successful Leaders by Jennifer Campbell. If you guys are interested in joining the book club, you're invited to and want to be invited to those monthly discussions, reach out to Patricia. We are reading chapters 1 through 3 and having a discussion January 17th. So feel free to join us. We're excited. It's a great group of people. We love just talking about change, right? All right, we also offer PDUs for those that need them through PMI. So if at the end of today's session, we'll send out a survey. You'll fill out that survey so that we can track your attendance, and then we'll send that to PMI. So if you have any questions on that, you can also reach out to me, but we'll send a link in the chat for you to fill that out. All right, and without further ado, I will stop talking and hand it over to Cassie. We're excited to have you, Cassie, and she's going to talk to us about coaching through change. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Let me get my screen here. Make sure that is up and running. All right, looks like you all should see my screen now.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you being here and getting to do your first little event for us. Nice job, thank you. Yay. Thank you all for the whole community. Thank you for letting me be here. We've been talking about change, right? So let's talk about coaching through change. I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk about this. I was supposed to do this, I think, about a year ago, and some things came up. And so actually, it was change that came up that ended up stopping me from getting to present this. So I'm excited for this opportunity. A little bit about myself. My name is Cassie Sadison. I am a certified professional coach. In addition to that, I'm also a facilitator, change agent, nature lover, yoga instructor, watercolorist, all of these things, but most importantly for today, I'm a coach. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one on this call who's a coach. So I definitely am inviting conversation. I'm on my cute little laptop, so it's going to be hard to follow the chat or see if people are raising hands. So please, please, please feel free to unmute and just jump in. Or I know the facilitators can probably also share anything that's coming up in chat and just interrupt me, because I think the more we can be interactive, the more fruitful this can be. And for anybody who's watching the recording in the future, feel free to reach out to me in the future. My current position, I'm a process improvement officer in La Plata County. For those of you who are not sure where La Plata County in Colorado is, I'm in Durango, southwest corner of the state. So a nice little rural community of 55,000 people. And yet there's still tons of change to happen there. Some pretty big initiatives that I've gotten to be a part of throughout my career. I started my career in criminal justice and working with people that were under supervision. And we pushed this huge change initiative to actually ask people that were working in that field to change their mindset away from the punitive aspect into actually a very similar idea of coaching folks to get into the resources that they need, trying to increase motivation to make behavior changes, which is pretty huge. So it wasn't just about coaching the clients that we were serving, but also coaching the staff to think about their jobs in a totally different way. I also used to work at CDOT, so it's great to see Michelle and Gary on, and shout out to CDOT folks. I used to work there at the training academy and helping shift how we deliver training, technical training for our maintenance folks. So big changes there, changing how we did that. And now, of course, here at La Plata County, a lot of change in some projects that are coming through. We are literally building a public health department from scratch. So lots of change that comes with literally building a brand new department from zero. So I've been helping to guide that process as well. So this morning, or today, I guess I should say, we're going to get into the coaching mindset. I know I mentioned that a little bit. I'm going to start at the foundation of that. That is going to be probably the most important topic today. I can't get too deep into what coaching is and what it feels like in the amount of time we have today, but I think I'm really hoping the biggest takeaway for all of you is really understanding what that coaching mindset means for you. From there, I'll give you a little bit of a coaching tool set. So for some, it might be a review. For some, it might be like, oh, I'm actually doing that and I didn't know it. And for someone, it might just be like, wow, that's great. I'm going to go try these out and see how it feels. And then finally, after that, we'll talk about that coaching and change, putting it all together, starting with that mindset as the foundation, giving us some tools, and then how do we take that out in the world and do something really cool with it? So we have to start with, what is coaching, right? What does that mean? So to set the stage, I want you to think about how you are probably already coaching. I'm going to have a feeling most of you are already coaching. But I want you to know that today, what I'm going to tell you is actually the right way to do coaching. I don't think you've been doing it right. I'm going to tell you the right way to do it. So keep that in mind. I hope you're taking tons of notes. This is research backed. This is absolutely the way to do it. So I'm going to ask you to put everything to the side and start absorbing exactly what I'm saying, because this is exciting. This is going to be changed for you. I want you to do it. I also have all of your names and emails. I've been recording this, and I'm going to follow up with your supervisors afterwards to make sure you're doing exactly what I've been saying. I understand there's going to be some change, a little bit painful. Oh, I see the emojis coming in. You guys know where I'm going with this, right? It's going to be painful, and we're gonna stumble through, but I know at the end of it, you're all going to be doing it the way I'm telling you to, because, well, this is the right way and change is good, right? And I get it. You guys get it too, right? This sometimes is how it feels when we come to something that we're trying to bring into the organization to say, hey, we've got this change initiative. And a lot of us have been getting to sit with it and understand it and peel it apart and break it down and understand why the change needs to happen. And then we go running out to our colleagues and say, this is the change, let's make it happen. And it's maybe the first time that they're seeing it, maybe they're not quite sure about it. And we're coming at them with, let's do this. And they're just feeling so overwhelmed. And so what I'm asking is to come into it with a coaching position. So everything I just said, I don't have your emails. I'm not following up with your supervisor. If you didn't get it, I'm definitely not doing that. I wanted to show you what it might feel like for some people who especially can be resistant to change, how it might land on them. So hopefully you kind of got to feel that bodily gut feeling of, I don't like that. So if we come to the field with a coaching mindset and some coaching skills, hopefully we can help people understand the why and the what a little bit softer. Obviously, that was a little bit of an exaggeration, but hopefully you took something with that. So some of the
Cassie, it
pain
looks like
points.
we do have somebody raising their hand.
Yes, please share.
Corey Friesian, do you have something to say?
No, I meant to hit the emoji icon and I hit my hand and then I started laughing.
Perfect.
Awesome. Great. All right. Back to you, Cassie.
Thank you for sharing your laugh. There it is. So I think the biggest part for all of us is that we tend to have a really nice intimate relationship with whatever change initiatives we're bringing to other people, because we're the professionals and maybe our titles aren't the change professional, but we're probably doing it because we're passionate about it. We care about the people we work with and we care about the mission of our organization. And so if we come into it with a little bit more of saying, okay, everybody gather, and using these coaching skills and our mindset from a coaching perspective, the hope is to get some of those pinch points out of our way, because sometimes they come into our way because of the way we just bulldoze into it. So let me really define what I mean by coaching for today. Oftentimes when we think about coaching, we think of life coaches, executive coaches, there's even acting coaches, and these tend to be people that are working one-on-one with individuals who maybe want to progress in their career or figure out what the heck they want to be when they grow up, or maybe there's some behavior or habit that they're trying to change. So that's a personal growth coach. I'm going to call that a personal growth, no matter if it's a career coach or a life coach or even an acting coach. From this perspective, we're looking at it as an organizational coach. So we are coming to the table as coaches who see that the organization has a broader picture, a broader mission, and this change or whatever project is that we're bringing to the table is going to impact the entire organization, not just the individuals, but the full organization. And we're also recognizing that there's individuals that make the organization what it is. So there's that relationship with the individuals, as well as that larger, broader community that we're also lifting and gathering together. So I think one point I would take away from this is, while we're not necessarily coaching an individual to have personal growth, we might be coaching an individual to say, hey, you work here for a reason, right? You come to this job for a reason. You're passionate about something. And so when you're starting to feel that resistance with an individual, it's good to sit down from a coaching perspective and find the misalignment. Why is there resistance? And how do we bring you into alignment? Because you're here for a reason. This change is also here for a reason. Let's bring it all together and weave it so that we can move into this change or this project together and successfully. Of course, it's going to be messy. I'm not going to promise anything is going to be this like rainbows and sunshine and unicorns, but the idea is to get more people to help promote the change, right? There's this really nice quote that I love using to define what coaching is. It comes from a person named Jeff Matthews out of the Madison Group. He's a coach, a professional coach. And he says, coaching is any conversation in which we support another in making progress towards a preferred future. So coaching is any conversation in which we support another in making progress towards a preferred future. So in this case, we can argue that the preferred future is what we believe the change initiative or the change project is going to bring into the organization. And so we're helping others come into this progress with us. So we can think of coaching like a guiding compass. We're not teaching or telling, we're guiding people. Generally, it's ongoing. It's always forward focused. Sometimes we want to start analyzing the past and say, how did we get here? What's going on here? That's great, that happened. Let's move into the forward. Let's see what we can do with what we have today. And then the biggest thing I think that I love about coaching is those aha moments. So coaching can raise awareness. Awareness, that might be a familiar word in this community here, awareness. So as we are engaging, we might also be teaching and training, but we want to make sure that we're not in that teaching always moment. Sometimes we do have to bring in information to teach or train, but for the most part, what we're asking is for people to learn and get that motivation from themselves. So a coaching cycle, or sometimes you might hear it as a coaching model, looks like identifying that goal or outcome, so some kind of vision that we're trying to get to, and then baselining the current situation. So we know where we want to go. Let's find out where we are right now. And so we might do that with some assessments or some information gathering. And then once we know where we want to go and where we are today, we start creating a strategy, maybe some planning. What happens if we do change? What happens if we don't change? What happens if we add this or subtract this? And once we've got that strategy laid out, we start actioning it out, putting it into practice. And then from there, we're going to review for sustainability, making sure that that change will happen. So again, that's a coaching cycle, right? Looking to see where we're trying to go. Where are we today? How are we going to get there? Great, let's start doing it. And then check in and make sure that we're on the right path. So anybody, does this sound familiar? This I hinted when I said awareness. Anybody sounds like anything we might do? I know there's some, I'll hint, pro-sci people in here. So I'm getting at the coaching cycle, coaching model really aligns with ADKAR. Like you can definitely see the ADKAR is basically a coaching model. So for those of us that maybe don't know that acronym ADKAR is awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. So very similar to what I was just chatting about. And we'll break it down how they align together. So we'll come back to this, but really that awareness is knowing there's a need for change, maybe even understanding the benefits of what that change will bring and why we might want to get in there. What we'll do from there is really tap into that desire for folks to participate with us in that change. So how can we get people on board and excited? And those are the first two, the A and that D. Awareness and desire is really where this part of today's workshop is really going to be about, is that part of coaching. And you can use coaching in the other three parts of ADKAR, but these are the two that I think are the most important to really get that buy-in and get people to become part of the change with you, alongside you, and start uplifting together. So take a moment really quick. You can either chat or come off mute. I'd like you to share with me some of the pain points, pinch points, bumps, challenges, obstacles, whatever you tend to run into when you're trying to lead a change initiative. What are some of the things that you see or feel? Someone who's not receptive. Yep, resistance. Ooh, fear. We got some disagreement. Oh, here it's all coming in. Awesome. No buy-in. I got some more fear. Yeah, Michelle, you're seeing the future and you forget that others aren't quite, they don't have the change goggles on yet. Yep. Got the defensiveness and certainty. I'd put that with fear. Ooh, minimizing. So I'm hearing a lot of what you get to feel people pushing at you. Is there any like specifics of what people might say or do, or at what level you're getting that? Is there like a lead that's like, yo, I'm not going to have anybody in my team do this until you prove to me that it's right or that it's working? Anything like that? That won't work. I'm really good at what I do. Ooh, that comes back to fear, right? I already know what I'm doing. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Apathy. Ooh, that one's tough, right? PTSD. Thank you for saying that one again, Michelle. Definitely, we already tried this. It didn't work last time. Why do I want to try something new again? It's always been done this way. Oh, that's the dirty words, right? We're not allowed to say that. All right, thank you, guys. We're going to come back to these. I wanted to get this so that when we get to a part later that you can really connect the dots. So these are some of the things that are real. I'm not going to say like, oh, that's too bad that you're experiencing it. No, that's what it is when we're bringing change that we know is going to benefit everybody. And then we get these resistance. No, I already know what I'm doing. Oh, we've already tried change. Change stunk. I don't want to do that. I don't feel good when it keeps failing. Why would I want to try to fail again? So we'll put those to the side, and I'll come back to that in a little bit. So thank you for sharing that with me. So let's talk about the coaching mindset, because that's going to help us succeed as we move into this. So again, coming back to what ADKAR tells us about awareness, and then aligning that with the coaching cycle, we need to identify that desired goal or outcome. So kind of imagining like this vision of where we want to be. And then also at the same time, let's baseline our current situation. So we know this change initiative is going to get us there. And where are we now? And so we have to build that bridge. So we know probably we're putting this change initiative or this project into place because we know right now something's just not working. Maybe something's missing. Maybe we've identified an opportunity for progress or even evolution. And we're in a place where we can guide the folks around us, the people in the project with us, maybe folks that aren't even part of the project yet, into some awareness at that work group level. Where do we need to go as a full work group? Maybe it's an even department, maybe it's a whole organization. Where does that circle lie? And this is where we start to run into that resistance that you all started to share. When we're starting to introduce it or talk about it, we've got people minimizing, saying it's not that big of a deal. We've already tried change. I don't want to try change again. I already know what I'm doing. We might also have my favorite, I don't have time to fix this. I'm just going to keep doing it this way because I know how to do it this way. And there's like 16 different workarounds right now. And you're like, if we just stopped and took the 2 days it takes to actually make the change, this whole process could actually take like, a quarter of the time. And people are saying, no, we don't want to stop. We don't want to invest in that. We've got the time now to just keep doing the 16 workarounds. So a lot of those things seem to come up. And so what we want to do is we want to find a way to coach for a shift. We can also do that by tapping into people's desires. So, and aligning with the coaching cycle or coaching model, this is where we start to strategize and plan. So what happens if we do this change? What do you suppose would happen if we actually were able to be successful in this initiative or this project that we're presenting to you? And also, what would happen if we didn't put this into place? So we start asking those questions, maybe it's a little bit painful to rip off the Band-Aid and the 16 workarounds, but what would actually happen if this worked smoothly the way you want it to work? What would that look like? And so we start tapping into some of the, okay, let's give this a moment just to settle in and think in. So a suggestion for this approach, I love this mindset shift. So Daniel Pink wrote a book in 2009, and I was actually laughing because this was one of my favorite books, and I can't believe it's about 15 years old now. I'm like, oh my gosh, time definitely has passed. But it's such a basic concept that I just love it so much. He says that there's 3 factors to drive motivation. And so when I say motivation, I'm coming back into that place of desire. We desire to move, to change. So how do we influence motivation? First and foremost, human beings want to have autonomy. So they want to have self-direction. Secondly, Daniel Pink argues that people want to have mastery. I saw that in the chat. I already know what I'm doing. I already mastered what I'm doing. So people actually have a desire to be their best. And sometimes they also have that desire, if you can pull it out of them, to continue to evolve and get better. And thirdly, human beings want purpose. So if we come into this conversation with this coaching mindset that we know people want autonomy, that we know people want mastery, and that we know people want purpose, it's going to help us take down our walls of saying, let's get this change going. Thank you, Michelle. It's in the chat, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. It takes down our wall of trying to bulldoze and say, you don't understand, we've got to do this. If we come to people and know that every single human, whether we're working with them or we're passing them at the grocery store, wants autonomy, mastery, and purpose, gives us a lot of space that we can then give space to others to help them step into the place of excitement for whatever the change or project is that we're working through. So really, I'm going to say it again, we're giving space to build that relationship with the change. So we tend to go into teacher mode here. When we come to this place, I want to teach you why you need to move into this change. I want to teach you why you need to be motivated about this. And it's actually going to be so much more powerful if we stay in a place of curiosity and guiding people instead of teaching people here, and letting our audience, letting our folks come into this aha moment on their own. I love to use the example in high school. Like, I remember there were so many things that my parents said, you don't do this, or teachers saying, don't do this. And I was like, yeah. I had to learn the lesson by actually not doing it and finding out what that was like. I'm sure you have either kids of your own, or you can put yourself in that position of remembering when people were telling me something, it didn't quite click. I actually had to do it and figure it out on my own. That aha moment was way more powerful than anyone ever telling me that. So I want to take that to this. When people come to their own aha moment with whatever the coaching or the change is, it's a lot more powerful, and they're going to get on board, and they're probably going to help bring the change with them too. So coming back to this, that in organization coaching, we want to remind people that you're here for the job. It's not just about the individual personal growth. It's about the organizational growth. And when we are starting to move into a place of enforcement. Remember, I said, I'm going to make sure your supervisor follows up with you and make sure that you're doing it. That starts to get people's walls up. So we're not looking for that enforcement. We're looking for alignment and bringing people into alignment. And I also recognize here, I'm not talking to a theoretical environment. There's a lot of things that happen with human beings. And so sometimes, and we learned this with coaching, sometimes people are in a place where they aren't aligned to, and coaching sometimes reveals that. So if you've got somebody that just really won't open up, where there's a lot of resistance, it might not be your personal job to work with them. It might be a supervisor's job to come in and they can coach them through, hey, is this the right place for you? Is this the right position for you? How do we get you so that your needs are being met within this organization? Or maybe your needs are met somewhere else. So I just want to put that little asterisk there that sometimes there's more to it than just let's coach through change and give each other a hug at the end of the day. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. But I think for the most part, in my experience, most people, once we get into that autonomy, mastery, and purpose, there's a lot of wall shedding and openness, and people will align a lot sooner than if we're just resisting and saying, you need to change with me. And how we get there. And I think just by reminding myself of those three factors that help people step into motivation brings empathy for me. So if you really think about that, we can empathize that I know that I want purpose and I know that person wants purpose. And so I've got that empathy. And so if I recognize that the folks I'm working with that might be resistant to the change, they might be in some discomfort right now. I'm bringing something to them that makes them feel uncomfortable. And so coaching through this might be asking them to just be comfortable with being uncomfortable right now and acknowledging, I empathize with you. I know that you're uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable too when I learned about this, or however you want to empathize with them. But I think first and foremost, that's the most important thing to step away and bring into a coaching situation in your coaching mindset is empathy. Secondly, that feeds into curiosity. So what are we assuming about the person or people that we're working with? And instead of assuming that, check these assumptions at the door and come to the conversation, come to the discussion, whatever it looks like, with curiosity. Learn about them so that you can get into that empathetic mindset and then come into a place of, oh, I see where the resistance and the snags and the bumps and the pinch points are. Now I can help guide us through that and help them see it so that they can understand. Maybe they're not even seeing the pinch points. Maybe they've got the blinders on, and our coaching helps us show them, opening that mindset up a little bit. And finally, my most favorite, because this is where the aha moments come from, is empowerment. So once we get to a place of understanding people's motivation and hopefully aligning them to at least understand where we're headed and why we're headed there, then we've got that empowerment. And change is really intangible without people acting it. We can have cute charts, PowerPoint presentations, we can do all of this really fun, cutesy stuff, but until the human beings are actually implementing the change, there really is no change. We can talk about it all day, but we're asking for the tangible putting it into practice. So whether that's a policy change, whether that's building a brand new department, whatever that means, until the actual change is happening, it's just up here in the ether. So my favorite part is the aha moment that people start to actually engaging in the change. Maybe it's a behavior change. Maybe it's just a procedure change or a process change. But either way, once we get to start seeing it, that's where it's like, you get the chills and it feels so good. And all of the little party emojis start going up on the screen, like, hey, change. So again, coming back to the framework of what we're looking at here, organizational change comes from a place of we all recognize that we work for the same organization with the same mission. Maybe little division and departments have their own individual missions within the organization, but at the end of the day, we all work for X company, or I guess we'll say X government, probably for everybody on here. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be a public servant? What does it mean to be a community member and a person not only that's a community member, but also serves the community? And so coming to that with the mindset of empathy, curiosity, and empowerment, we can then walk into that place of, all right, I recognize that these people also work with me. They're just like me, wanting that autonomy, that mastery, and purpose. So this is our framework, being empathetic. It's basically just circling around this empathy, curiosity, empowerment. And then as we're looking at the people in front of us, we're remembering that they're autonomous, they desire mastery, and they all want to have purpose. So that is stepping into it. That is the coaching mindset that I'm going to ask you to keep with your heart and your mind as we move into this. So real quick, is anybody already doing this? I want to hear if anybody's already playing in this world. Feel free to come off mute or just chat it out and I can read it out for you. See, some people are just starting down the path. New for the organization, but you're already using it. Great. So you get to be the leader of introducing it. I love that. Encouraging people to sit with being uncomfortable. Thank you for that question. Yes. So first and foremost for me, I'm going to share my experience. The first time I ever heard that, I had a supervisor many years ago say that to me. And it was literally just hearing those words. I need you to be uncomfortable. Excuse me. I need you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Even just hearing that was enough of a switch for me to be like, oh, hold on, let me check in with that really quick. What does that feel like for me? And it was like they gave me permission to be uncomfortable. And just by saying that to me, let me just shed everything and be okay being uncomfortable. Like it almost felt like a safe place for me to be uncomfortable because I was actually invited with that. So those very words were enough for me. If anybody else has any experience in that, please feel free to share what's worked for you, or either for someone to make you feel comfortable being uncomfortable or that you've worked with your team. I'm going to keep looking here at the chat, see if I can catch up.
Cassie, it looks like we also have a question.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on curiosity, empowerment, and empathy by providing an example?
Sure. Let me think of a really awesome example. Oh man, I should have had a good example for this one. Thank you for challenging me today. I'm thinking about coming from a place of empathy. When I was working at CDOT, working with folks that they knew how training used to look. It's how the training academy really worked for a long time. They knew that there was some discomfort in it, not discomfort. They knew that there were some bumps and it wasn't perfect. And sometimes people complained, but they knew this is how they wanted to do it. And I had a really cool boss that had this really big vision who really wanted to make sure that it was like, no, we're shaking it up. We're going to turn it upside down. And I've got this great vision of making it super interactive. And so there was a lot of discomfort in asking people who had been running the training, because it was internally run. We had people who were trainers that worked in worked with us, asking them to shift how they were doing training. So that was uncomfortable for them. And so I wanted to empathize with them and say, we're going to give you tools, we're going to give you skills to shift into what we are doing. So there's some empathy and understanding their discomfort that, I don't want to do it that way. I've been doing it this way forever. And so it took me being curious to learn how they had been doing it. So I was sitting in on some of their trainings, watching how they were doing it, and then having conversations with them and saying, what are you trying to accomplish with your training? Why are you here as a trainer? Because they didn't get paid any extra to be trainers. They came in and they were sitting and sharing their wisdom and their knowledge with people because for the love of it, because they wanted others to learn and do the job a certain way that really helped the whole organization. If we were all standardized in a certain way, it would make everybody's job so much more easy. So I got curious with those trainers that were running the training and learning their why, their purpose, and then getting with them to say, okay, if you had $1 million in the world, how would you try to, or it doesn't even matter. We didn't need money. How do you make this so big, and what would be the perfect way to run this? So I got curious with them and empathized that they were struggling with thinking about like, okay, we've always been in this box. You can open it. There's other ways to do this. Work with me on this. And empowering them, we let them bring the solutions to us. So they gave us a lot of really cool ideas. Oh, we should do this hands-on. We've been sitting in a classroom doing it this way. And this would actually be really cool if we had an actual truck. So a big a big plow truck that we could actually test this on and show this is how you do this part of the activity. So we'd want to take the whole class outside and say, we were just talking about it. Let's be hands-on with this truck. And so we literally brought trucks into our parking lot that then the class would stand up and go outside and be hands-on instead of just having a PowerPoint and saying, imagine if you will, this part of the truck does this. So maybe not the most powerful example, but for me, that really walks through the cycle of getting folks to think outside their box and empowering them to actually bring us the solutions to make the change come to life. And that ended up being how we did a certain class for the full, I called it learning season for the year or so. Did that help kind of clarify a little bit, or is there more question around that? Cool, got some thumbs up. All right, I'm gonna keep moving. If there's, again, questions, please keep them coming. So that is our coaching mindset. So now I've got a little plant started here. I'm gonna give you a coaching tool set now. So there's 3 things I'm gonna talk about for our coaching tools. Again, they're probably gonna sound familiar. You're probably already doing them. And they work a lot of ways, and not just a coaching setting, but also just a communication setting. They work well with our coworkers. They work well at home. So just keep this in mind as we move into it. You can practice them a lot of different places. So the first one to get any conversation really started, especially for looking for that curiosity or looking to be in a place of curiosity, is an open-ended question. So this is the part where I get to say, hey, give me an example of an open-ended question. Or how would you define an open-ended question? Any thoughts here? Perhaps
Not
it's
yes or
easy.
no.
There it is. Yes, that's probably the easiest one. A closed-ended question gives you basically a yes or no or a very closed answer. So I've heard the definition of if it's anything from a one answer, one word answer, to if it's a number that can be very well defined. So, you know, what date is it would be kind of like a closed-ended question, or do you like my training right now would probably be a very closed-ended question, and yes, no, yes, no. So the idea of an open-ended question gets us to not assume anything, but opens the book and says, show me in the story where you're at right now. So Lisa, that's such a good example. Tell me how this is landing with you. And notice that I didn't really ask a question mark at the end. It's more of a statement, but it does the same thing. What we're really looking is to get information out of somebody. Share with me your experience. And it can be an open-ended question where there's an actual question mark. So how is this landing with you? Or tell me how it's landing with you. So those are really good ways to think about how to start an open-ended question. The hows are a good way. How is this working for you? What's going on right now for you? Let's see. What else? I'm sure there's on it. Yeah, here we go. Thank you, Susan. What, how? What and how are usually the really good words to put at the beginning of your sentence to know that it's open-ended. And I always like to say, kick the do, kick the do-do. Do you like, do you want to, you know, that will be a yes, no. Are you going to? So thank you, Susan. Those are great examples of if you start your question with a do or an are, you can get a very closed answer. But if we're looking into the hows or whats, we can get a more open question. One I like to just kind of put, again, a little asterisk is the why. Why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it this way? Be careful with why. If you really are asking a why, you can actually ask a why with a how instead. So if I said, how are you going about it this way? Might be a different way of framing why. Why are you doing it this way? Any thoughts on why might be something to just be aware of? I'm not going to say don't ask a why question. I'm just going to say be careful with your why questions. Nancy, I see you have your hand up. Share with me.
I think it can come across as confrontational or judgmental.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Puts people into defense, and it's got that right there. Cause people to be defensive. Feels accusatory. Yeah, great word. Like it feels like you're under investigation. Why are you doing it this way? Now you can, if you have the right tone and the right rapport with somebody, you might, and maybe you're at that point in the conversation, why might be appropriate. Like I said, just want to put the asterisk to being mindful of your tone and your own intention when you're asking that why question. I'm going to keep moving for the purpose of time. Once we have that information, we've got our open-ended question, and we've got a lot of information coming in because we asked a really sweet and beautiful open-ended question. Now we've got people coming to us and sharing what their experiences are, sharing their answers with us. And so what do we do with that information? And this is where we get to practice active listening. Anybody have any thoughts on what active listening means, truly means? Absolutely an important skill all unto itself and takes a ton of practice. Yes. I see limiting the interruptions, being present, being in the moment, listening to understand. Jamie, right there. Listening to hear instead of respond. I'm going to step into that one. I see it a couple times here. Absolutely. So instead of listening and like, oh yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to take some notes. I want to make sure that I respond to that. Oh yeah, that's a good, I'm going to respond to that. Active listening is just receiving, hearing what the person is saying. I'm not listening to react or to respond. I'm just receiving what they're saying. And you'll know that you're listening because you can then reflect back to that person what they just said. It might sound like you're parroting them, like parrot, like the bird, right? Bird. You're parroting back to them what they said, and they'll know that you heard them, and they'll also get to hear themselves. If you literally repeat back what they said, it's really an uncomfortable skill to start with. When you feel like I'm just repeating everything they're saying. Okay, it's a good thing to practice. And as you get more skilled in it, you might not say the exact words that they're saying, but you're saying it so that you're making sure that you understood, and they also get to hear what they said. And if something comes back at them and they're like, I didn't mean that, they will respond and they will actually shift it to you hear exactly what they wanted you to hear. And so that's a really cool way to just make sure that you did actually hear, to listen and absorb and understand. Once you've got that information, you're going to affirm and advocate for whatever it is that you have shared with them. So this is giving us the ability to spotlight where you might have heard some places for change, where you might have heard some places of awareness or desire, and maybe even some commitments came up. So you're affirming that, yes, I heard that. That's awesome. I hear that you want to try this new change. I hear that you've got some struggles. I hear that you agree that there's a pinch point here. And then that being an advocate at the end of that, great, I'm going to help you. I'm going to support you. We're going to go into this together. So that's that. You're being a cheerleader and saying, I recognize this. We're going to do this together. So those are our three just basic coaching tool set skills that we're going to start with and keep a lot of open-ended questions. And I'm not going to say you can't ever ask a closed-ended question. Sometimes you need to ask a closed-ended question, but the more you keep your questions open, the more information you're going to get, and step away from those assumptions. And then using your active listening to reflect back and actually listen and make sure that you heard and make sure that they heard what they said too. And then moving forward and saying, we're in a good spot. I heard this and I heard this, and we're going to pick them and we're going to move together on this. And I'm going to cheerlead you through whatever we're doing. And that's when we get to move into actionizing what we're going to do, putting it into action. So coaching and change. Now we've got little bouquet of flowers sprouting out. This is where we get to apply it. So I'm going to give you a real life scenario that I'm going through, and I'm going to give you some of the bullet points. And with everything we've talked about today, both that mindset of where we're coming to a place of knowing people want autonomy, people want mastery, and people absolutely want to move into a place of purpose, coming to it with curiosity, and we're coming to it with empowerment. How are we going to get there with this scenario that I'm going to share with you? So I'm going to be the person, and I'll give you the whole scenario, and then I'll tell you who I am in this role too. So this is a real life scenario, but I'm going to put myself into someone else's position. And so feel free again to chat out your thoughts or come off you and share. I'd love that. So right now our organization has a Microsoft product. We're in, I don't even know which version of Outlook, but we aren't in Outlook 365. That's what we're moving into. We're actually in the Outlook that has no Teams, has no chat, has no anything. Like it's nothing like this Google Suite, like the Google Workshop or Google Workspace. That's got all of these fun, interactive, collaborative tools. We are working in like Microsoft, I don't know, like 2008 or something. I feel like we're very far behind. And that's what we're moving into. Our goal is by the end of January, we are going to plug in Office 365. And so since we've got a lot of tenure in this organization, people have been working in this place for just like many public sector organizations, people that have been with this company or with this organization 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. So everyone has been using, as far as they can remember, this version of Outlook forever. forever and ever. And they've never really worked anywhere else where they had any kind of interactive technology. So this is kind of scary to think about. Wait, would you want me to, there's a chat, you want me to now work on a OneDrive? What's a OneDrive? What's a Teams? Like, what, this is all very confusing. And so we have several applications currently in place that are workarounds that help us be productive, that the new version Office 365 will actually create some solutions for us. So that's the why. That's why IT is plugging this in. But right now we have several different repositories, including our network folders. We have some applications. We have content management living over here. We have forms over here. We just have all these different things that are kind of tied together with duct tape and like string, and it's all trying to hold together. And the plan is to just wipe that all clean, take notes, know what we need to do, and then plug that into Office 365. Super scary. Am I going to lose everything? What's going to happen? What am I supposed to do next? I don't know how to use Office 365. Like, all the questions come up. Let's see, there's also the policy writing behind it. Now we're going to have chat. How long do we get to keep the chat? What's the policy around that? How do you use chat? Now we have to get the attorneys involved and get them writing policy, and they have time for this sort of somewhere. So there's a lot of unknowns, basically. A lot of work has to go into this. And there's a lot of unknowns of how do we keep what's currently in the repositories, moving them over into these cloud sharing features like a SharePoint. Where is it going to be stored? What happens to my personal data, my personal files? And then IT, of course, is absolutely learning something brand new. How are they going to figure out all of these different apps and how to create it and set it up so that hopefully, fingers crossed, there aren't any snags along the way. And then troubleshooting from here on out. Now they're going to be the experts in a brand new system that they don't know. And that weight is on their shoulders. So, and then, like I said, the user retention policies. What is that going to look like? How long is chat going to live for? And any of these files, how long do they live for? So there's all these questions, right? It's chaotic. It sounds like absolutely insane. So this is a project that I'm helping to guide right now. And so it's a real life project. But I'm going to step outside of my change agent persona, and I'm going to be a department head. And yeah, I get this is coming. And you know what? It sounds like a big pain in the bum. And I want nothing to do with this. I'm going to actually sit back, cross my arms, and say, I want to protect my team. I don't want any of this chaos to come to my team. Fix it. Let me know in a year from now, and then we'll get involved. I'm protecting the homeostasis of what we have going right now, because we've got these 16 different things that we know work, our 16 different workarounds. Don't touch them. That's me. So how would you begin with me if you were the change agent or a person that's trying to move into a place of, we got to open our arms, we got to figure this out? Where would you begin? You go running? Oh, we got some empathy. Corey, can you tell me what that means? How will you be empathetic in this situation?
Well, I just think if I'm a department head and this is all coming at me, I think I would like to have somebody talk to me and really hear my stress, my concern, my worry about how this is going to affect the day-to-day of my team. So I think as just thinking about some of the new concepts you've introduced today, I would start with really listening with empathy to what's going on for this particular department head.
Thank you. Yes, that's beautiful. Like understanding that I'm frustrated and hearing it out.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you. Let's see. Entering the coaching mindset. What does that look like? Anyone want to share what entering? Is it Mira? Am I saying your name right? Myra?
Actually, Myra, but yeah, I think a lot of that would be trying to kind of leave, to the degree possible, kind of leave behind my own assumptions or judgments about why that person may or may not be engaged in the change or resistant to it. And then, as Corey mentioned, really try and move into some curiosity. So yeah, kind of open up some space for better understanding and hearing them out.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate the acknowledgement of trying to put my assumptions off to the side for a moment. It's really important. Ooh, Helen, I like this. Tell me more about what you love, about how things work now, and tell me what you wish worked better for you. That is so powerful. Like that's a really cool question to give that to somebody and say, oh, it's working for you. You love the 16 workarounds. Tell me about how that's working. Now, if you had the chance to fix it, what would that really look like? Like, let's be honest with this. I love that. That's a really good way to enter that conversation. Well, I see a town hall or a one-on-one to understand the concerns. I think town halls can have a lot of power in them, and they can also be a nice event session that can turn messy really fast. So I think if you're keeping that place of autonomy, mastery, and purpose in your mind, and really organizing it and setting, here's the bullet points that we are going to talk about it, and keep it in that framework, and keep it organized, and make sure you're selective in having the folks, like probably a smaller town hall. I think that's a great idea too. Because you can then get the vent session out. Like venting isn't a terrible thing, but it can get unproductive really fast. So how do you keep it in the guardrails, as we like to say at CDOT, like keep it in the lane, and make sure that it's productive. And I think, you know, you're asking to hear voices. That's a very empathetic thing. Thank you for that share. Anyone else? Let me make sure I'm seeing here. Curiosity about the current state. I think that's been definitely driven home. Structured tools can be helpful in town halls, like a SWOT or a plus delta. Yes, so coming with the right tools. Thank you, Katie, for that share. Oh, even setting the scene with the town hall, being prepared about how everyone will come out with some disappointment, right? So we're coming back with that empathetic, like we might not all get what we want right now, but that's not the point of the town hall. We're here to shake it out and figure out where all the little messy things are, so that we can come into a place of empathy with those messy little things, and empower people to make the changes. Because we're not, as the coaches, I think I did not say this, as the coaches, we're not the ones necessarily doing the change, right? We're asking people to do the change. So we don't get to be the one that fixes all of the messes. We're helping people find the solutions for their own individual part within the organization. Let's see. So once we have buy-in with this department head, we're going to ask them to lead the communication with the rest of the team. That's super powerful, right? Once we know that leadership is on board, I'm probably going to buy in a little bit more, because I see that my leader can see the value of the change. So I'm definitely just like, okay, I have a good rapport with my person. I've seen that they're a good leader. Hopefully, like, this is fingers crossed, but I have a feeling if you're still working at the organization, you probably align to that that leadership style. And how can I be a part of this too? Needing to build that desire in the team leader for sure. What else? Is there anything else that we, ooh, here's a good one. This reminds Helen of last week's episode of This Is Not What I Ordered. It's a podcast where the guest coach talked about the both and element, both accepting a change and accepting that you can't accept a change right now, and that those two things can and do exist at the same time. Yes, absolutely. And she shared a link to that, so feel free to click on that link. Thank you for that share. That's actually really cool. Very cool share. All right. One or two more things that you might do to try to learn about this department head's maybe resistance. How might you empower this person? This is absolutely a sponsorship opportunity, right? Continue that conversation. Remember, coaching is a continuous, it's not just a one and done. There's probably continuous discussions. Oh, asking for their ideas. Hey, all right, tell me what worked. Like, I think this comes back to what's worked, or what would you do if you were in my situation? The both and, right? It's like a yes and, both and, yes. Awesome. Great. Well, for time, I'm going to keep moving, but it sounds like everyone's really feeling that place where you get to listen, you get to receive by asking those open-ended questions, do a little bit of reflection. Again, coming back to the place of knowing that person or that group of people have, they want autonomy, they want mastery, and they want absolutely to have their purpose in the organization. And how do we empower that? How do we come to a place of curiosity in that? And so what's next? I wouldn't be a good coach if I didn't ask you to take a nugget from this, pull it out, find the one thing that you absolutely will do for the rest of this week and maybe into next week. How are you going to action item that? And maybe if nothing resonated, you can be honest and say, you know, I didn't really get anything out of this. I think that would be very honest and powerful. And if there is something that you're like, actually, I want to try that. Here's how I'm going to do that. Feel free to chat that out or come off mute. How do you want to take one thing from this today an action item and actually get to do it by the end of this week. Love that, Lisa. Stop taking notes and being present. We actually hear a lot more. I know I tend to depend on note taking, but honestly, when I stop note taking, I'm definitely hearing a lot more. So remember, some of the pain points we shared was we heard resistance in our colleagues. We hear fear. There's disagreement, minimizing. People saying, well, we already tried change and that failed. Now I have PTSD for change. I already know what I'm doing. Think about how you might take something from today's workshop that you might be able to plug into any of those conversations. Yes, learning other points of view, being curious and listening, using that empathy. Revisiting, I just started to see that one about revisiting coaching. How to coach and manage change by being responsive when short-staffed. Continuous use of parking lots are not beneficial to anyone. Yeah, I like to say parking lots. So I'm guessing we're all talking the same thing. Those places where you write down ideas. Parking lots tend to be the place where ideas go to die. So how do you make them into an action item instead of a list, right? How do we actually say, hey, that was a great idea. What are we going to do with this by the next meeting? Awesome, Kate. I'm glad to hear that you're going to get to apply this at an upcoming retreat. That's awesome. All right, all. I think I'm right at my time. So I appreciate your engagement. I appreciate everything that you have shared with me, with our community. Appreciate your time. Go out and make change, right? Go in and be empathetic with folks. I think that's the biggest thing that we need right now. So open hearts, right? Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Cassie. What an impressive presentation. I see all the applause. Keep it going. We really appreciate you taking the time to present today. And thank you, everybody, for joining in, being part of that conversation, speaking up, bringing questions or concerns. It just makes it more fulfilling, right? We're all working together. We're all collaborating. So what a great opportunity. There was a lot of really good book recommendations, podcasts. So we will make sure to post that. We're getting a lot of questions. Is the presentation going to be available? We will post that both on our website and YouTube. So I will get that up for you as soon as possible because there's a lot of really good interest in all of that. So thank you, Cassie, for presenting that. I just can't thank you enough. Another round of applause, everybody, for Cassie. She's just, what a wonderful presentation. And it looks like we have a couple of hands being raised here. Though I can't see who they are unless they're trying to applause. So if anybody wants to come on mute with last minute comments. Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen real fast just with a couple of things for you. So before you go, take a minute to complete the survey. We'll put that in the chat for anybody that needs PDUs. Thank you so much, Michelle, for doing that. Again, we have the PSCP website. So this is where you'll find all the past webinars and some great resources on there. So again, the recording of today's presentation will be up there. We also have a LinkedIn group. There's a lot of great conversations happening today. So we encourage you to get on, join the group, and continue those. And on our YouTube channel, this is also where the presentation is going to be posted as well. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and have a happy holiday. I can't believe it's the end of the year, but we will see you in February for our next webinar. Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone. Great job, Jamie and Cassie. Thank you guys so much. Woo!
Woo, woo.
Cassie, you did amazing,
Thank you.
as usual.
Oh, thank you.
So
That
thank
was
you so
so
much.
good. Yeah, and so much presentation. Maybe we should consider having you as our August PSCP Cross Colorado Innovation Conference person. Like there's just so much like